Hey guys, Cam McClellan, Al Lewison. Welcome to today's workout of the day, your wealth WOD. I want to talk today about risk versus return, and more importantly how Al and I assess risk versus return. When I look at risk comes down to one thing, and that's control. My understanding of how I can control a situation to deliver me an outcome when I'm investing. When I look at return, I look at the return on my individual dollar. So when I'm investing, I don't invest dollar for dollar. I leverage other people's money and I put it into whatever investment I'm putting it into. So I look at the return I'm getting, inclusive of other people's money, back on that original dollar. So my internal rate of return, or my annualized return on my money. So that's how I look at risk versus return. I want to talk to you today about probably our past and the way we've gone about investing and building businesses and investing in different companies and investing in property, and how we've sort of come across those hurdles and looked at risk versus return. And I'll talk today about a risk matrix. This is a really basic one I've drawn up for you guys. So a risk matrix, this is what we put it into. Now, Al and I use something a little bit more complex. We run a spreadsheet, we put in our risk versus return on that, and it gives us up basically a rating. But if I look at this, risk versus return, so high risk, low return, low risk, low return, high risk, high return, and low risk, high return. Now, I'll have anything that's it's got the word matrix in it, mate. Come back to Keanu Reeves, but Al, give us a rundown, mate, of risk versus return when we've looked at property, businesses, share market, for example.
Strawberry farms.
Yeah. Well, give the guys a rundown, I suppose, of some of the investment opportunities that have come across us and how we've looked at those.
I guess we're pretty constantly getting different opportunities across our desk. Now, as Cam said, we run a matrix. We look at risk, we look at return. We've got some ratios to spit out and then tell us what the outcome is for us, I guess. One thing we look at, and probably the ultimate thing to talk to you guys about, is it often comes down to control. What control do I or we have over the investment we're looking at? So at one point we got sent an IPO, initial public offering. A company in the States was looking at doing some exploratory mining in Antarctica. Would we like to invest in some units that could grow by X percentage, incredible returns? So we put it through the matrix. Where is it? Well, it's high risk, potentially high return. Do we have control over it? Who's the management team there? Have they done it before? Do they know what they're doing? No. We don't invest. You break it down to residential growth investment property. So do we have control? Well, yes, you do. You control how much you borrow. You control the decision making of the tenants. You control whether you put the rents up and down. You control whether you keep it or sell it. You have control over that asset yourself, and you can make those decisions based on key things that you know whether they will or won't work. So a lot of different things, guys. There's 4 quadrants there, and lots of things fall in different categories. Haven't got time today, but like we said, growth property ticks a box. We can control it. Have a think about different things you might have come across, and you think the same for yourself.
Yeah, think about business was a big one for us in the early day. We knew we were going to business together, and we built a number of different businesses. And we've failed at a couple of businesses, so I'm not going to say that everything's rosy all the time.
The cleaning business is a good one.
Cleaning business is growing. Recruitment business. We started a recruitment business in March 2008. Now I had a strong recruitment background, but if you remember what happened at the end of 2008. Starting a recruitment business just before the GFC wasn't a smart idea, but that's a little bit out of my control. Yeah. But when I think about investing in shares, so I often talk about shares. Al and I are quite open. We don't own shares in the stock market, but we do own shares in quite a number of different companies. How we go about buying those is we look at the risk. So how can we control those companies? So do we know the management team? Do we understand how to read a P&L, a balance sheet? Can we take the cash flow from that P&L and make sure that it's sound and solid?
Is the business plan sound?
Perfect. What's the industry it's in? What's the risk associated with that industry? And then we go in and we buy chunks of those businesses. We don't go and spread our money across the share market. Now that's because we want to have control and minimise our risk. By doing that also, we can, if it's a good company, we can sometimes leverage up and we can get a bigger return on our dollar. So I'll do a scenario a bit later on for you guys on shares versus property when it comes to OPM and the way I look at that. But the reality is when it comes down to it, this will cut out a lot of those rash decisions you make. If you just look at how much control you can have on the return on your dollars, a lot of the things we looked at, strawberry farms was a good one. Timber Corp, we were shown Timber Corp, thank God we looked at that one. So,
Probably just what I thought of actually. Even if you look at your investment portfolio, you look at things like, do I go to a mining town? Do I invest in the United States? Do I invest in a country town? How big's the population of the town? All those things come down to your risk profile. Now for me, those mining towns and things like that, that's big risk. What if the miner pulls out? All of a sudden my property can't be rented. Small town, small population, not growing. What if I can't find a tenant? Well, the property's no good to me. The list goes on. But guys, as Cam said, check the properties, check what your investments you're looking at, and assess the risk before making any decisions.